Well, hello there, family. I didn't see you there. And welcome back to another edition of Crenshaw Corner. I'm your host, Sanchez Crenshaw, and as always, I am joined by the absolute best part of my day. The apple of my eye.
Speak.
The wind beneath my wings.
Because I am.
The rib that completes me.
All day.
The Adelaide to my Nathan.
And now you done got on my nerves.
Come on, dog.
Who is Adelaide?
Think about that for a second. Adelaide. Nathan.
Uh-huh.
Nathan Detroit. Sue me.
Who?
What would you do me?
Baby, who we talking about?
I love you.
Who?
Only my favorite musical of all time.
Oh, we back to Guys and Dolls?
Guys and Dolls.
Baby, I've never watched that. I've never watched that.
Are we married?
Yes, we are.
Are we for real?
We're really married. Let me ask you a question.
Talk to me.
Because I was thrown off. Have you?
What up?
Don't judge me. It's been a year. Do you always say I'm your host? Have you always said that?
Yeah,
What is something brand new?
Always. I'm your host, Sanchez Crenshaw.
That felt real new to me and fresh.
Because here's why.
I'm just, no, for real. Have you always said
All
that?
you're doing is confirming what I've always said.
I don't listen to
you.
You
don't listen when I speak.
No, but no, for real. Have you always said that?
I have always said I am your host, Sanchez Crenshaw.
And so I've never said that I'm the host?
Because you're not. Because you're not.
Okay, so who am I?
Huh? We'll get into this.
Hold on. What's going on, family? What is going on,
you
guys?
Some nice eye candy is what you is.
See me, boo. You see me.
I'm saying.
I am Angela Crenshaw. Guys, what is going on?
That is my wife family.
No, for real.
What?
Have you always said it?
No, for real. I've always said
go
it.
back and
I am
listen.
very consistent in what I say.
We got family members. Hold on. Has he always said it?
Yes, he has.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
Always.
Wow. Okay, I'm sorry, baby. Go ahead.
With the mostest.
You don't listen.
No, you know what?
That's crazy.
Maybe the way you look sexy today, so it seemed different.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
It seemed different.
Family.
Go ahead, talk to the family.
I want to start with thank you. Because already my wife is down all kind of rabbit holes.
No, I'm here. I'm here for it today.
Are you?
I'm here.
Family, thank you. For
What's
our
going
new
on,
family members.
Welcome. Yes.
However you found us, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Podbean, whether it's Spotify.
Say it, baby.
Whether it's Google Play, whether it's iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or on our own personal website at www.thecrenshawcorner.com.
Yes, honey.
We thank you guys so much for
Thank
being
you
a
guys
part.
so much for being a part of us.
For our returning family members,
Come on, family.
you know how we feel about you.
Come in the room.
Now, for our new family members,
We
please
do
don't
love
take
you.
it personal.
We love you, though.
We
do.
love you.
We do.
There is a place in our heart for you. But there is something about our returning family members.
They keep coming back, y'all.
And I don't know why.
They keep coming back.
They keep coming back.
Hopefully
I keep trying to keep them on track.
After this episode, they'll come back again.
Hey,
We'll
well,
see.
here's what happened.
Yes.
On the last episode,
Yes.
we lost 52.3 subscribers.
That's how we felt.
That's how I felt.
That's what we haven't lost some guys. We ain't see the loss, but we felt like when everybody gonna be like, whoa.
But after this one, it's gonna be 52.3 because we're gonna continue the trend.
Yes, this is after dark, baby.
Well, can I?
Okay, wow.
Before you just
Housekeep.
this is why
Housekeep.
family, please
Keeping.
send your resumes.
Nobody
I am
sent a
still looking for the resumes.
Housekeep. I'm excited.
I see that.
I'm excited. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm be quiet.
Family.
I'm gonna be quiet.
As I was saying,
I lied. Go ahead.
you're not, and I know you're not, but it's okay. Family, welcome to the cookout.
Yeah.
As you can see, once again, my wife has proven that she will go down a rabbit hole.
Don't do that,
I try my best to keep her on
You do
track.
not.
And she just go.
baby.
She's like a wine. You remember the Energizer Bunny
you-
commercials where you just wind a little bunny up and it just go?
Right.
That's you.
That's cute though. I like it. Boom, boom.
Let's
'Cause
go
you
with
hit
that.
the boom, boom, boom.
Let's
baby.
go with that.
The drum.
So family,
Yeah, that thing.
welcome to the cookout.
Yes.
Please make sure you bring some aluminum foil
So you can take something
so
with
you can take something with you. Now family, one thing about
Yes.
Crenshaw Corner is
Tell
that
'em.
we love to have fun.
We do.
We love to laugh. We love to joke. We love to be with you.
Yes, we do.
But the one thing we always try to do, we always try to leave you with something.
Yes.
A different perspective, a different viewpoint, a nugget that you can take with you.
Yes.
So we say, make sure you bring the aluminum foil,
So you can take,
something with you.
A Crenshaw nugget.
Crenshaw nugget, if you will.
Yes.
Now, family, we consider ourselves an interactive podcast.
I like this part.
You know what that means?
Go ahead, tell them.
That means we can be found on the socials. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, all in the Crenshaw Corner. And of course, you can email us at any time at the Crenshaw
See, that's the
Corner
part I like. Say it
at
again.
gmail.com. Once
Say
again,
it.
the Crenshaw Corner
I like your the.
at gmail.com.
You sexy with the.
Now, family,
Yes. Yes.
let me go ahead and get this out the way up front.
Oh, Lord. Woo.
Parental
Advisory.
is suggested.
This is an after dark
This is
edition.
After dark.
This is for
episode.
This is for the grown folks.
Actually, what this is for the grown and sexy.
Yes, honey.
Is what this is.
Grown and sexy.
Because family, if you've listened to any one of our February episodes,
yes,
you know that we are in Love Month.
Yes.
And we are finishing up Love Month.
Yes, we are.
So family, what we've done for the last few episodes, for our midweek moment.
My goodness.
For our last, our midweek moment a week before.
Yes.
Our last Crenshaw Corner.
Yes.
And now this Crenshaw Corner.
Yes.
Have been truly after dark episodes.
After dark episodes.
So we're going to continue the trend.
We like the trend.
We love the trend.
We love the trend.
And family, what we've done, we had a couple that blessed us with our presence before.
Our presents are their presents, baby.
They blessed us with what did I say?
Their presents.
Yeah, right there.
Their presents.
That's what I had said.
They prize on.
That's what I had said.
Yeah, okay. I'm here
They
for
had
you.
blessed us with their presence
They
before.
did, yes.
And we touched just a tip.
It did. Just a tip.
Just a tip of the iceberg.
Already starting it.
There you go.
Don't start.
There you go.
Don't start.
So family, what we've done, we have brought back to your attentions Prince Daniel and First Lady
Yes.
Angela Anagaho.
Yes, honey.
Say hello to the family.
What's up, guys?
What's up, family?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. How you doing?
We are so excited because what people don't know is we touched a little bit on it last time you guys were here.
Yep.
Yes.
But then we kept it going when the mics was off.
Yeah.
So we decided, come on, because y'all got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
So we just bring them on back.
So family, what we're doing, because
Yes.
we love perspective.
Yes.
So we started the conversation with a quote unquote younger couple.
Yes.
Not necessarily younger in age,
but their marriage.
younger in their marriage.
Yeah.
With Robert and Janelle, they're within what I think it was 5 years. No, 10 years.
10 or 15. I think 10 or 15 years.
Within 15 years of their marriage.
Yeah.
So now we brought a couple. We're gonna double that.
Yeah.
Almost 30 years in. Good 25 years in.
Yeah.
Known
Yeah.
each other 28 years.
Yeah.
But if you listen to Angela, it's 33 and a half years. They've known each other.
26. Almost 27.
26.
26.
Yes.
So we
Almost
can say
27.
27. So that's close. That's
So
good.
yeah, so we wanted to bring you guys back because when you get into that the two in front of your marriage,
Yeah.
people think the sizzle leave the building. They think that you can't get your sexy back, and they think that y'all are old married couple. And so we want to bring you guys on to be like, nah, that ain't how that work. That ain't how that work.
I want to start with a question.
Oh Lord,
And
you got
then
a
we
question.
just gonna let it go from there.
Oh Lord,
Because I'm curious.
Okay.
Because within all the conversations, there's one question for me that I've had to put out there.
yes.
So I'm going to start with Daniel. Because I'm really curious about this. I'm going to start with Daniel. Because you have to understand.
It's the prince,
You're coming from royalty.
right?
True royalty. Legitimate royalty. So my question to you, sir. When and who first taught you about sex?
Oh,
Wow, that's a good question.
what?
And that question's coming to you too, Miss Angela. So go ahead and get your answer ready.
What you got?
Actually, I heard about the birds and the bees in school.
Okay.
We did the whole, what do you call that, sex education?
Sex education,
So I heard about that, and that was a little very cordial and very,
Sweet.
Sweet. and that. But I really learned about sex. I think it was up the street.
Oh,
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, it was soft porn.
Ah.
Okay.
It wasn't like any. So there was a guy who had a tape
Right.
that would play it up the street. I forgot what his name was, but so we all went in the house, but Emmanuel. I mean, the song. I mean, I can hear it till today.
Actually,
Wait, hold on. There's a song.
no.
It was a lady.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask
And
a
it was,
question.
Okay, wait. Was
Hold on.
the tape was named Emmanuel?
No. I know. Hold on. I know he's going with this.
The whole series was Emmanuel.
I have a question though. Was it Black Emmanuel or
No,
was
it
it
wasn't.
Emmanuel? Because there was two.
No,
How
it was
do
not
you
black.
know that? How you know that?
It was white Emmanuel. I got you.
We know the same people. We know because there was two
Emmanuel.
different versions of Emmanuel.
I'm looking at y'all like. First of all, I thought. Let me tell you what I thought. I just want to say this. I thought people pay $1 million for that.
Right.
I thought that. When you said Emmanuel was like that was your homeboy.
You thought Emmanuel was a dude down the street.
I was like, who is Emmanuel?
Emmanuel is a movie. It's
a series.
It's a series.
It's a franchise, actually. I know exactly what Daniel's talking
Okay,
about.
The lady,
is this like
it's
a guy
lady.
thing?
It's
Right.
a lady.
Yeah.
And it's soft porn. It's not like the it's really just like she's going around and she's
What?
dating guys and
being about her
sexual
business.
Oh,
guys.
so she's
Yeah.
sleeping around.
She gonna be
She's
about
sleeping
her
around,
business.
but it's not.
Okay, so how old did you encounter
I was-
Emmanuel?
I was probably 14, 15.
14. How old was you when you encountered Emmanuel?
When I first encountered Emmanuel, about 11, 12, when I first encountered Emmanuel.
Have you ever heard
I-
of Emmanuel?
I-
No.
I don't even know what that is,
No.
y'all.
I
literally thought that was a friend.
No.
I preferred Black Emmanuel, though.
Oh, okay.
Only because
Now y'all gonna have everybody
No, I'm
looking
just saying.
to search the
she was
the 1970
Yeah.
Emmanuel.
early
Ask
80s.
the
She was,
question.
yeah, she was.
Lord Jesus.
So if memory serves me correctly, I believe she was Ethiopian. Anyway,
Wow. Her hair was slicked back in the
actually, she did.
ponytail.
I'm gonna tell you. You're gonna understand this a little better. The
Okay.
reason I loved Emmanuel, Black Emmanuel, is because she reminded me of Sade.
Oh,
And he loves Sade.
I
Oh, I
to
love
this,
never
to
saw
this day.
no, I don't.
he's
I
not
love
the right
Sade.
one.
Yeah.
I'm a big
It's-
Sade fan.
My wife and I, I'm getting back to you, but since we're talking about this, my wife and I made a long time ago. We had a conversation. You have one out.
Yes.
If this person would ever approach you, you're allowed to go.
Bye.
If this person ever approach you. So mine is Jennifer Lopez. If Jennifer ever lost her mind and said, "You mine now," she letting me out our contract.
The contract over.
No, she's not.
She's letting me out.
I'm going with LL. Cool
If
J.
LL ever approach her,
Oh wow!
What if J-Lo gets to him before LL gets to you?
Then you know what's gonna happen.
You gonna fight her.
I'm gonna fight her. I
but
need to be a mutual
on the
agreement.
backside of that, if Sade ever come a knocking, we may have to go together. I'm sorry, Daniel. Please continue.
I can't even.
another
I
episode.
love
That's another
Sade
episode.
so much.
Yes, sir.
I love Sade.
But I can't even think of her in that way. It would almost be like
Tainting her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So that's how I learned, and and the guy had it in his house, and we
Right.
would go to his house, and they'd watch, and
Y'all
at
just
some
had like
point
a
I
watch
just
party.
It really was.
That was a watch
It really
party.
was.
So you
Well,
had,
know,
like-
you watch the movies with the kids, all that stuff
Really?
that are running around in neighborhoods. That's how we were.
Right.
We lived in a
Right.
neighborhood where we would go to people's homes and we would hang out, and this guy had this, and we'd go to his house. And
Wow.
This guy had Emmanuel, and so
Emmanuel.
he was very popular.
Interesting.
He was a very popular guy. Angela.
Well, I never really learned about sex. I really didn't. I even talked to my girls about this. I knew kind of what it was, but I remember growing up, this before my mom passed, so I was under 13. And so I just remember little hints of stuff here and there.
Right.
And so I just remember once this boy in my neighborhood who actually showed me his penis, and I was like,
Oh.
what is that?
Right.
So I was young. And then only other thing that I had an
I'm sorry.
inkling.
Pause.
Yes.
Don't slide by that. Hold on.
What?
Do you remember his name?
Tony.
See, this the hot man. That's the stuff that we remember when we young.
I
That's
do.
what- yeah,
I do. And I was I was mortified because I was why? What is that? Why are you showing me that?
Right.
And I'm whatever.
Tony wasn't a
And then
grown man down the street.
No,
was
no,
he?
no. He was he was
Because I
my
call the
age.
cops right now. I'm just
he
making
was
sure.
whatever. So I was okay. So I think that was the first time I saw a grown up penis.
Okay.
And
What you
then-
thought was a grown up penis.
Right,
At his
well-
age group. He's 2 years older than you, Angela. It's not a grown up one. But it was. Got it. Keep going.
I don't know if Daniel should feel some kind of way to the fact that she remembered that vividly and his name and everything.
I mean, that was an impressionable.
That was the first time it was an
whoa,
impressionable
right.
moment.
And so the only other time prior to going away to college was this guy that I liked in the neighborhood. He was a few years older than me. So I want to say maybe I was 12. I don't even think I was 13 yet. And so we were at his house and he's oh, come sit down here on the bed. And instantly I know it was God wait, something's weird here. And I was
Right.
like, I was really naive.
Right.
Like, just for real.
Right.
And sat down and he put on a porn video.
Right.
And I was like, what?
What is
And
that?
I just
he
like,
went-
yeah.
he went straight
like,
forward. He
Straight
was-
forward. Like literally
And you
popped the
you
tape
bolted
in
out
and
the
I
room?
bolted. I was like, okay, no gracias.
Was it already queued up to the part he worked?
I think so. And
He was
so-
already prepared.
So even in high school, like my friends would make sexual references, and I would be like, I didn't know what they were talking about, but I had an idea,
Right.
But like the whole like, it really never clicked to me like, oh, like penis in the vagina,
Right.
motion. Like I was
Nothing.
really
Right.
naive. So
Nothing to
when
it.
I went away to college and I started learning, people were like telling me stuff my freshman year. And I was
Right.
like, what? Like people do that?
Right.
So really that was my sex education, was my
Right.
freshman year in college. Like people in my dorm, my RA was
Right.
teaching me about like, masturbation.
Right.
And, like guys and girls do this and that.
Right.
And oral sex. And I was like, that's what they mean. It was
All this time.
so I never really had but I grew up in the church. It was like, don't have sex, don't have sex.
Yeah,
They
just
never
don't.
really
talked about it.
You had
about
that
it.
true freshman seminar.
Yes.
Right. That's she was
Yes.
freshman
Like this.
orientation.
So I didn't realize how naive and like how much I didn't know until
So-
I went away to college.
Isn't it interesting? I'm sorry, Dan. Isn't it interesting that none of us, because we talked about this Wednesday,
Right.
about this same thing. Isn't it interesting that none of our parents, any adult, said a word?
Not a word.
The only thing they did say was, "You bet not."
Just don't do it.
Right.
You bet not.
What were you about to say, Daniel?
And yes.
No, I was just gonna say I was exposed to sex, but never educated until later.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Until I really had it.
Right.
Because then I was like, wait a second, what is this?
Right.
Because you're exposed to it. That doesn't mean you're educated by it.
Exactly.
And so that was
Exactly.
me. And
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's how it was for me as well. We touched on it in a previous episode, but we'll have a quick conversation about it now. You and I have very similar backgrounds when it came to that. Mm-hmm. My first experience with sex was porno. That was my first experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
That random VHS tape,
Right.
or Cinemax After Dark.
Right.
That was my first
That
experience.
cracks me.
With.
Cinemax.
That's what it was. Cinemax After Dark. That's how I learned about Emmanuel.
Right.
Right.
That's
Because
crazy.
from Cinemax After Dark, and of course by that time you have a tainted view of what it is,
Right.
And like my wife just said,
Yeah.
no one. I come from a Baptist family. My grandfather was a Baptist minister in his prime. He started the multi-church setup because he
Right.
was 4 churches at the prime of his ministry, 4 churches in 4 different cities that he pastored,
Right.
And so all I heard was, "Don't do it. You
Just
go to
don't do
hell.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it. You go to hell." The conversation was never had, which I'm like you.
Right.
It's crazy how something that's so involved in your life,
Right.
especially when you become married, and we touched on this before, they tell you don't do it. Okay, but y'all got 13 kids.
Right. All y'all got a whole bunch of kids, but
Somebody doing
somebody
something.
doing something.
right.
For me, it was more so like I talked on before, is because I was violated at a very young age. So I was exposed to something I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
So by the time that people started talking about it, I was so far removed from it. To me, it was like, that's for somebody else. That's not for me.
Right.
So by the time I got older and started realizing what it was like, okay, if I do something like that, it'll be for the other person. It's never going to be for me.
Right.
I didn't even think about it in that manner. It's kind of like Daniel saying, you know about it, even though that happened, but I wasn't educated. I didn't know why that was happening, what was going on. I just knew that that's what somebody did, and that until I got older, that's what it's supposed to be. Somebody do that and you please them. It has nothing to do with you at all. I had this out of body experience, right? And so it's so funny because now that I'm older and I think about that, I'll be saying, am I saying the right things to my kids? Am I saying too much to my kids? Because I'm like telling my kids, okay, first of all, and did you know? And they looking at me like, that's a lot. You doing a lot right now. Like, Ma, you doing a lot. Okay, so let me ask you a question. So now you and Daniel get together. Okay. And so did y'all ever talk about it? Because that's another thing couples don't do when they get together. Talk about the act is being done, but no one talks about it. Like, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you want to do this? Did you guys ever talk about it?
So no, we didn't. We excuse me. So when we first started dating, I just was like, hey, FYI, I'm not gonna sleep with you. Like, I'm not sleeping with you, like, unless we get married.
Oh, information just came out there. Just let
Yeah,
me know.
yeah.
You got
Because
time to
I
play
wanted
games.
to tell him right
That's
away.
good to know, though.
Exactly.
Tell me up front.
Tell me up front. Yeah.
up
Let me
front.
make that decision.
So,
Right.
exactly. So
Do I
was
wanna
just
stay
kinda
or
like,
go?
hey,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to go on with this thing.
Right.
And he was like, oh, that's fine. Like,
Right.
I'm cool.
Right.
Like, I'll wait. And he did.
Mm-hmm.
He did. But we never, like, while we were dating, we never talked about it really. I mean, it was just, my whole thing was,
Well,
Scared. I'm scared.
No. So I
Well.
would just say, like, he would be like, can I at least get a kiss? Like, what? And I would go, a man cannot take fire into his bosom and not
Constantly.
be burned. So I would just quote the Bible.
I'm sorry.
So you throwing Bibles?
Okay, wait.
You throwing
Whoa.
verses at him?
So
Okay,
yeah.
he want to kiss, and
I would say, a
young
man
people,
cannot
if you
take fire
listening, say
into
this.
his bosom
it's coming
and not
out of
be
my
burned.
ears by this point.
Right. So he had $1 for every time I said that.
And you
Because I was
stayed
like,
with her.
a man-
It's coming
he did.
out of my
He stayed
ears.
with me.
Sanchez.
He was like, dude, really? Like, not even a
is-
kiss? And I would say, a man cannot take fire into his bosom and not be burned.
Wow.
You see how we all got quiet at the whole table? Sorry, y'all. There wasn't a problem with the system. We all just got quiet.
3
For 3 years.
3
Nothing.
years.
Nothing.
Come on,
And I go
love.
from a relationship where it's happening
Eating
to,
cookies
it's like,
and no cookies.
It's like no cookies. But I think it's the best thing that's happened.
We out here, Greg. We here for you, Greg. We out here
Right.
for you, Greg. And your cookies.
It's the best thing that's ever happened to our relationship.
Wow.
Because I always say, and I don't know if I've ever said this to the kids or not yet, but I tell you, it's like I wish I was a virgin getting married. Because when you think about and you understand what sex is in a marriage, in the sanctity of marriage and all that,
Right.
and the soul ties and everything that goes with it,
Right.
what I share with her now, if I had none of that in the past, it
Right.
would be like amplified. It would be
Yeah.
so much more special.
Yeah.
But the fact that I didn't, it's, but having those 3 years where it's like a cleansing or whatever you want to call
What
it.
was? What, I'm sorry, Daniel. What was it?
It was
Yeah,
a
it
It was a
cleansing.
it was a cleansing.
Involuntary cleansing.
Yeah, I'm just saying, pipes get backed
Because
up after
it
a
was
while.
backed up, and it was like, you could have touched me, and I was like, oh, seriously.
Don't hold me accountable the first time. Don't, that ain't a true representation.
Let
The
me
first
tell
time.
you.
Don't hold me accountable.
A man
I mean-
cannot take fire into his bosom and not be burned.
But the truth,
Remember that, single people.
Yes, yeah, that's y'all word. That's a word for y'all.
we can go into stats. Maybe I'll go into stats with Sanchez later. I don't want to get your audience a little. But the man produces so much of that, and when you're not letting it
Releasing.
out, you're not releasing.
Right.
You are tense.
Yeah.
And if she could rub up against me, I'm like, oh yeah.
Don't move. Stop. Stop.
You know what I mean? I mean, it was serious.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No,
I
he
mean,
didn't.
Yes, he did.
He did.
wow.
He did.
And so
Right.
it was a time where I really needed to really understand what this thing is all about.
Right. Like,
the
what is it
sex-
about? Right.
And looking at people who are single going, what? You're single? Like, wow. You've been single 10 years and you're not like, what?
Like, how do you do
You're
it?
celibate? What? No.
Yes.
And so I had a
But we
different-
became really not because especially now, like sex isn't even like a big deal now.
Right.
I think it's just kind of like first date. I don't know your last name. People just hop in the sack like
Right.
it's just an extracurricular activity.
Right. It's just something to do now.
Yeah, something to do. And so, but for us, it allowed us to like really become friends.
Yes.
Like we had to. If we got into an argument or disagreement, we couldn't fix it by rolling in
Ain't
the
no
hay.
ain't no makeup sex.
It was
boo.
right.
Ain't no
It was
makeup
just
sex.
like so we had to learn how to be like friends,
Right.
and like do other things. Because I think so many relationships people crowd it, especially when you're getting in the beginning stages. It's like the sex that keeps a lot of people connected.
Right.
Or a girl might be like, I gave myself to him,
Right.
and so now I got to make this work,
Right.
Because he's got a piece of me,
Me. Right. Exactly.
So
Here's what I'm curious about. So you came. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Daniel, you came into that portion of the relationship a little more experienced. Angela, you came in a little more naive when it came to.
I wasn't naive by the time I got to Daniel.
No.
Oh, I'll say excuse. Oh,
Oh, excuse us.
sorry.
Well, excuse us.
maybe I misunderstood.
All right,
No.
Hey, Daniel,
No.
talking about
She was
no.
experienced.
No.
Maybe I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
I was born again. I was born again. So I had been in a 3-year relationship prior to him,
Okay.
and that person did benefit from all that is me.
Yes. All that is me.
And but it was always a struggle because I never wanted to, because like
Yeah.
Daniel, I wanted to like be married, a virgin, and
Right.
I kind of went to college and, learned all this stuff. And then I was like, Jesus, I'm going to step out for a minute, see what's going out here in the world. Because I grew up Pentecostal, so there was no gray area.
I'll be back.
There was no like, I'm fornicating. Right. Because there was no like, I'm going to fornicate and I'm going to do this and then I'm going to play church. Like, it was like, I'm out, Jesus. Because it was like, no, I grew up, there's no black and white, there's no gray.
And Baptist.
Don't play with Jesus. So I was just like, okay, God, well, I'm going to be out for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be back. Maybe.
Right.
Hopefully.
I'll be back. I'll be back, Jesus. Right. And that was my mentality.
I'm a healthy scratch for this game.
I was like, I'm not playing church. I ain't trying to pretend.
That's right.
So I was like, I'm gonna be out here, Lord.
Because Pentecostal church, I be feeling like, because I come from Pentecostal, I feel like when you do it and you go back to church, they know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They
be looking to my you.
Smell
You know what? You smell and look
you,
different. I'm like, what?
I am telling you, I know when people lose their virginity.
I do too.
I'm not even kidding.
I know every last one of my
I can
children.
tell every single one of my kids' friends, whatever, and I'm just like, oh, she's not virgin anymore. Oh, he had sex. Like I don't know why, but I can see it.
It is something.
That
I'm not gonna lie,
changes a person.
That's
you
Baptist too, because
yeah.
I had that same experience when I walked into my grandfather's church, because I knew the Lord. Mm-hmm. Well, I knew of the Lord. Let's just say that
I knew of him.
Yeah, I knew of. But I used to go to church with hickeys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
You just out there. You the grandson of the pastor, and you just a rebel with a cause, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, okay.
But like they knew, like the mothers of the church, they knew, which was crazy to me. You threw me off though, because I had a question, but I didn't know. I thought so. Yeah. You learn something. You learn something new every day. But I love the way Dane. Oh no! Don't misunderstand.
He was like, no.
So my question is: so when did you guys have the real conversation? I mean, like the unfiltered. This is what I like. This is what I don't like.
A year ago in our backyard.
No, that's not true. No. We had it.
I mean, when we
that's not true. That was like part 2.
Okay,
but the first part was when we. In Gaithersburg at Peaceful Acres. Do you remember that time?
That sounds like a retirement home.
Okay, was y'all at the retirement
that's what we
facility?
Called our little place.
Okay.
Remember we had that conversation and we like talked about stuff we had never talked about before. You remember that? And
so
then we had like
that's
really great.
18 years into it.
Wow.
It was like a full on like. So for years, we just made these assumptions about each other. What the other person didn't know. Whatever.
No.
Well, okay, so
thank you.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself.
For yourself.
For yourself.
No, let's be clear. Because there was an assumption that was made that you made that
there was a few.
There was a few which resulted in you curtailing and not giving yourself fully to me.
Right. Because I had just made these assumptions. No, I just made these assumptions about you because I was like, okay, so Daniel, he's like, in my mind, from guys I had dated before, not particularly like just sex, but just like guys. That so he was like the nice guy. He's regal. He's, just so I just assumed for a long time
that he was regal in the bedroom.
That there were just certain things that he wasn't into
because he's bland and missionary. That's
straight laced. And so for years, I was like, well, I just he never said anything.
You have a Ferrari and you go 20 miles an hour?
Tell her again, Daniel. She got what?
You have a Lamborghini and you go 20 miles an hour? My dear, that goes 240 miles an hour.
An hour.
So, yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, babe.
So y'all have this conversation. So tell me when you had the conversation, when she had the conversation with you, Daniel, were you honest, was like, sis, babe, no, I like this, and this, and I want to do this? Because now we're talking about you guys are 20 years in, 25, 26 years in. So now what you think is like it's slowed down or whatever. So how did y'all heighten it? What did you do to make it better? Make it, better.
It's always been like for me, it was a lot of a struggle.
Okay.
Because it was like when we first got married, it was like we had been 3 years friends. So then I had to, we could do this now. We could do this now.
Right.
Then it was like me getting to know him as a sex partner.
Okay.
And not just like Daniel, my best friend,
right.
and all these other things. So that was a struggle. So we always went through these seasons of like, you know, kind of when we were here before. It's like feast or famine.
Yeah.
And so we had so many conversations about like, he was like, yo, like, babe, like, can I kiss him already, you know? And I was like, you know, so, with, you know, I had little kids. I mean, a lot of women can identify.
Right.
I used to literally get frustrated with God because I'm like, seriously, like, why did you make women, and like, I don't get it. Like, why did you make us so different? Where like, you know, you blow too hard and they
ready to go.
And we're like, I'm good for 1 month, 2 months, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just been like a you know, and I think that conversation kind of opened up a lot of doors. But for me, it's always been, so it's not that I don't absolutely love, I mean, I'm way better now, but like, not that the whole time I didn't absolutely love sex.
Right.
But it was just so many things like motherhood and like just like unhealthy ways of thinking about sex, about myself, about him. And so it was like, but if we had a conversation like in the beginning or known to have a conversation, I think would have saved us like years of just waiting and just misinformation and miscommunication and like frustration, you know? So I think that was where we missed out in the beginning of our marriage.
And feelings that, you know, it's not about how you feel, it's about, you know, just the commitment and just, you know, two become one. And just God honoring, and the sex was created by God. It was created for enjoyment. It was created to consummate the marriage, not just one time, but all the time.
If y'all could see Daniel's face looking at his wife trying to explain this to her, it's going to be a long night for her tonight, y'all. I'm going to let y'all know this right now.
But in your opinion, Daniel, what do you think why it took 18 years, almost 18 years to have that real conversation?
Well, because I think part of it was not really understanding what was going on. You know, it's like you're in this marriage and for me, it was, you know, I felt rejected. I felt a lot of things. I felt like, you know, she wasn't interested in me. And so I was in this zone where I was like, you know, what do I do? You know, but I realized that it wasn't me at some point, because I think your sisters had said something to you about just like the whole, you know, how
don't punish him for something someone else did.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was getting a lot of that on me, and I was like, and I'll tell you, it's like, if I did not know the Lord, if I didn't love Jesus, I'm telling you, there would be things that I would be doing.
If the Lord had not been on my side.
Because there was a lot of lonely nights, even though she's in the bed, but just really lonely, you know, and just wanting to have my wife, and not necessarily all this time, it's not always about sex, but just you wanting to kiss her, wanting to hold her, but it just didn't happen, you know, and so crying out to God and saying, Lord, I don't know what to do here. You know, but really trusting him in that, because otherwise I would have been, I mean, I'm on trips in Cameroon and I'm like, you know, and it's all over the place, all around me. But at the same time, God is like, okay, you're doing this study now. It happens where I'm doing a study that is helping me. You know what I'm saying? It's like God is like, and that was 18 years of just going through that and really seeking the Lord. And just,
I think too, it comes with a lot of, I think what we were not taught was intimacy, because intimacy will bring the sex part. If you got intimacy, sex, that's not the issue. And I think even for me and Sanchez, we didn't really, intimacy, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you something funny. The night that we all were on a call together, because we're always on a call together as a crew, and that night, that Tuesday night, me and Sanchez had a conversation that we had never, ever had before. And we've been married 20-something years. And we've never had a talk about fantasy, ever. Like, I don't even know how that happened. Like, how did we miss that category? But it was so funny. And what was weird, because I told him, he said, well, what do you fantasize about? And I said, absolutely nothing. I was like, so I ain't fantasize about nothing. Like, you know, as if that's mandatory. You know what I'm saying? But I felt bad. Like, should I be fantasizing about something? Like, you know what I'm saying? But for him, he's just kind of like you, because I'm like Angela, where it took a while, sometimes still, because I'm just like, okay, we don't got to do it. And he looking at me like, we don't got to do what? Like, like nothing, like you play too much, like, you know, like he be threatening me, all kind of weird stuff, but I'm like, no, I'm okay.
Right on your forehead.
See, don't do that again. Don't do it again. I don't need it on my forehead.
Right
Thank
on
you.
Your forehead.
You know, and but we started talking more this year and last year, which is weird, about the intimacy, and I think about the time that we spend together. And I think once you do that, the sex will come. I can't even explain it really. Right. It could be just watching TV. Another thing that we realize, we watch TV all the time, but we watch TV in 2 different chairs. So the other, was it Monday?
I think it was Monday.
Monday, we actually watched TV and we just laid on the couch together, because normally he's on one because he's tall, and I'm on one, he's on one. So, but this time we were on there and we just kind of like laid there and watched a show, TMI. But because of that intimacy, we made love. You know what I'm saying? So, so I was like, oh, so that's what's
not TMI. It's after dark.
Yes, after dark. But I was like, oh, so that triggers that, because at that point I wanted to. I felt close to him. I felt like I needed more of that, just in not that way. I didn't even tell him this, so he probably like, really? We always on the couch now, baby. Don't you worry. But but I didn't think about it till just now, and I was like, huh.
And I think you have so many unhealthy, like you were saying, the struggle, like growing up in a Pentecostal church, I had just so many wrong ideas about, like you said, never taught about intimacy.
Right.
And so I had like all these preconceived notions. And I do remember when you just said about fantasy, but I do remember when we first got married, one of my ideas about him of like, oh, he's not. Like, I was almost ashamed, because I remember mentioning to you about tying you up, candles, wax. It was a whole like, like, hey, like, would you, and I remember his response wasn't what I was expecting.
I'm African.
So, so I'm thinking, because like for me, I'm like, but for me, I was like thinking, hey, handcuff you to the chair, candles, wax. I have my way with you. There's nothing you can do about it. So this is like, whatever. Yes, but his response wasn't. So it was almost like at that point. So then I was thinking like, oh, he probably thinks I'm like this free, So then I was almost embarrassed,
right?
And so I think that kind of gave me the idea of like, oh, maybe I'm a little bit too much weird for him.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, he's probably just more like, let's just keep it basic.
It was too black and white. If I give you a reason for my response, you're going from like, we're not doing anything, right?
I'm extreme.
Don't even kiss me. To now.
Right, he's like, wait,
this chick wants to do like.
I was trying.
Let me bring out the handcuffs and the
handcuffs and the candles. And I'm like, I'm trying to reconcile. Like, you won't even kiss me.
Put this ball. Right?
But I wouldn't kiss you because a man
But I'm just saying. But it's like
and not be
you won't kiss me. But you're talking about that, and I'm like, this is like,
he was confuserated.
He was confuserated.
What is But I will say that when you look at, I'm not saying. I would say I wouldn't want to change anything over the last 18 years because God showed me things that I needed to work on.
Yeah.
In terms of just how I looked at you, how I looked at sex, and how I looked at just the whole relationship with it, that is marriage.
Yeah.
And then over the last few years, it's understanding that intimacy that Angela is talking about, that intimacy starts with our relationship with the Lord. Like when we spend time with the Lord and we spend time together, that is really intimate. And then just understanding what marriage is all about.
Right.
It really, and how
it heightens it.
It really does. And so I have that full understanding where it's not about sex anymore, it's been making love, and it's there's a whole process that is involved that is different from what I saw.
Communication has helped. Like, I could have sex every day now. Seriously.
Take notes.
Excuse me, sir.
Write that down.
I think we're recording.
Seriously.
I'll go back and listen. I'll go back.
Write that down.
Right. I'll go back and listen.
No, because it's been scientifically proven when you write stuff, you remember it better. Write that down.
No, seriously, like, I love it. Like, it is, I'm like, oh, like, I literally, like, dude, I even said to him the other day, I was missing out on this all those years. Like, literally, like, what?
Yeah.
So, like, literally, like, I, had it, if it was, like, if we didn't have kids in the house, like, oh my God.
It would be on and popping.
I really do think that I could just have
But that's
sex
the thing,
day.
too. I think, too, what we need to, as women, what happened to you is you're unlocked. Your kids are older now.
Well, 2 of them.
But they're still older.
Right.
You know, they don't need you as much as they, so that frees up some time, right? And then you both have time where you're both running your own business, and that frees up some time. Hello, America.
I'm going to have to interrupt.
I know we ain't got no kids, but that's not even so much as that.
I have some really cool e-group leaders. They really, and they bring such wealth of knowledge to the table when we have group.
Right.
And one of my e-group leaders had said, because I remember, is that that's an excuse. Because you're going by how you feel, and you can't go by how you feel, because you don't feel like going to work, but you take your behind in there.
Yes.
You don't feel like cooking dinner, but you take your behind in there.
With organ music.
But all of a sudden, when it comes to making love, because I don't feel like it, now we gonna ride that train till the wheels fall off.
I do. If I don't feel like I do take my behind in there, go sleep. Go nah.
This is what I'm saying.
Right.
But
that's not what you're saying.
Yeah, but
but that's true.
Because we use it as an excuse a lot of times.
It's a very convenient excuse.
Yeah, and I'm not taking
and
away
it's convenient.
from. Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from motherhood, young mothers. I'm not taking it, or having young kids. I'm not taking it away. But it's twofold, because if there's two of you in the home, why are you doing everything?
Right.
Why are you not? Because a lot of the times it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because you want to allow him to.
Right.
Okay.
Or if he does it, then you come behind and redo
Do
it
it the way we want him to.
and then you complain about how much stuff you got to do.
Right.
And then when I come to you and say, babe, well, it's time now, you want to look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Because can't you see all this stuff I'm doing? Can't you see I got all this stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, but why am I not on the list though?
Right.
Why am I not on your to-do list?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know what's it's one of those things where I think, and I'm not blaming society for anything, but what I will say,
you're about to.
But I'm about to just say this one thing. What society does as well, I don't know which I remember from back in the day, but on commercials used to do that, like dad want to do something, mom has a headache. Remember that it always used to be a butt of a sitcom or whatever. Dad wanted to have sex, mom was like, I got a headache, and would roll over.
That's why I put Tylenols in your Kool-Aid.
Thank you, baby. You so kind. So my head can't even hurt.
You ain't never got it. That's
Yeah, I'm always clear. I'm always
Always
clear.
clear.
But what the crazy part about it, I know people are like, wait a minute, what is going on? What are y'all talking about? The things that get in the way of the intimacy. We talking about the things that you guys need to, family, that you need to listen to, that you're allowing to get in your way of your intimacy.
Yeah.
What we're talking about at this table is real talk. See, you guys like after dark, it's gonna be about sex. Before you can even get there, you got to clear some stuff up. You got to get some communication going. You got to get some intimacy going, because of course, as Sanchez said Wednesday, everybody, a dog know how to pump. I don't even know why he said that, y'all, but a dog know how to pump. Everybody know how to pump. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what we're going for when we get together. When we're married, you know what I'm saying? For me, like, I was celibate for a long time before Sanchez.
8 years.
And said, yeah. So I was just like, I'm cool. Everything cool. Everything.
Right.
You know, I'm good.
And I love you, but sometimes I think you still celibate.
She working on it. She working on it.
You see me working on me.
No. You are, and I love you, but just sometimes, because I think what happens is that sometimes you get in that, you still get in that celibate mindset.
I do.
Where because you went so long without it, it's okay to go another 8 years.
Yeah.
But I'm like, my back teeth are floated.
You know.
So I got problems out here.
And you know what it is?
My levels are off.
I cannot do
I'm just saying.
I think, too, is we get caught up in what Angela said. You're my best friend.
Right.
So sometimes it is so difficult to switch you to my lover. It's not intentional, but okay, wait a minute. Don't clutch your pearls.
I hurt my
Just use your friend.
I'm trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's what you hurt. I'm not hurting.
Just be friends.
I just got friend zone. After 21 years of marriage. 21 years of marriage. I just got friend zone.
Friend zone. Sorry.
No, but I'm just saying, like, when you think about it, like, we're such good friends and we're such best friends that sometimes I don't know how to switch that off, right? It's like we best friends, we laughing, we talking or whatever, ha ha ha, and we go to sleep. And next thing I know, he done rolled over. I'm like, bruh, what are we doing here?
Sometimes, you know what, you just have to like look at him as a sexual being.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be talking to Dan, you know this, right? And then I'll just look at him, then I'll just be like, dang. And I'll just start thinking things and looking at areas and stuff. And I'm, you know, and just like, and then I just intentionally like, and I'm like, and then I start thinking about last night or what I can do. And, you know, so I think it's like you have to
be able
make
to
yourself, like sometimes when you're just staring at him, just think about having sex with him. Yeah. And just his body parts and his, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Just so that it's not always this like, okay, friend and my bestie or whatever.
My bestie, my husband,
so
my
it's
this
like,
and that. Yeah.
You know, changing the mindset.
So
of like,
I should just think he my love slave.
Right.
That's why I need to
I
go.
give you permission.
Yeah.
Okay.
I give you all permission.
Just start, right.
I give you all permission. But
Just start looking at him like you would look at LL.
Okay. You know, I ain't seen LL in years, though, but you know, I don't know what he looking like right
But
now.
I do have a question for both you and Daniel, though, because we're talking about that. Because for the family who doesn't know. So we're talking about 4 kids.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And, ranging from, was it 19 to
20 to 9.
20 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel's a very successful business owner. Angela's a very successful business owner. Multiple businesses throughout the family.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. So my question is, how?
And where?
How? Not even so much as I don't need to know where.
I
come to the house and I don't want to have to stand in one corner. So
when we go to their house,
I don't even know where.
When we go to their house, we just stand in one corner.
I'm in one
We haven't
corner.
really hit the common areas.
I don't need to where.
Yes, they're upstairs. Okay, cool.
Oh,
See what you started? See what you started?
Oh yeah, don't tell them about that.
Sorry. But how? So how do you keep?
No, you can go first.
Okay.
How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it energized? How do you keep, as you say, you're a sexual being, Daniel's a sexual being, 4 kids in the house.
Daniel's a love slave now, baby.
Okay, however you do it.
Right.
But how?
Like, is with the kids in the house, basically?
All of it.
All of it.
So we get creative, like we said before, it's like, it's just
Zoom
during
call.
the day. We'll be like, hey kids, like don't come in our room because, daddy has a call, or we're in or somebody's in the shower. So we make some excuse like, or in the older ones, I just tell them, if my door is locked, just don't come in here because you might see something you
But the
don't want
thing
to
is,
see.
let me just say, our kids have complete access to the home. Locked doors mean nothing.
Yeah,
They literally
they
pick
know
the
how
door
to jimmy,
and they
right.
just.
So the little ones, we
Go
have
ahead.
to say like, hey, like this, like, do not enter,
Right.
no matter what. Like,
No matter
unless
what.
the house
Right.
is on fire, do not
Right.
enter. Older ones, we just say the door's locked. Just
Don't do
come
it.
in.
Don't do it,
Just
sis.
come in. You're gonna see something you don't want to see. You're gonna be scarred for life. So they just know. So even we were at the beach, last week or whatever, and Sydney was like, yeah, I was afraid to stay in the living because our bedroom was right outside the living room. She's like, yeah, I was afraid to stay in there too long because I didn't want to hear you guys. Or whatever. So at nighttime, I just went to my room or whatever, So she's like, but we'll go in the closet.
Right.
You'll go, just try to sneak like wherever we
Right,
are.
right,
So we
right.
just had to like get creative pretty much.
Really
with
creative.
The kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the older ones, we just had to tell them, like, we let them know mom and dad have sex.
Yeah.
Like for fun.
Yeah.
And then we will do our getaway
Yeah. And
where we strategize. I bring the whiteboard and we
Yeah,
make
right.
notes
I'm
and
sorry,
talk
there's-
about
there's
our
a-
20,
I'm sorry,
21
there's-
We are
strategy.
2020 plan.
And
We
you
get a
gotta-
hotel room.
You got to make this work.
Yeah.
So we
No.
we
We'll
have
get a
gotta do
hotel room and just,
We go
because
through
then
the
we can make it.
spreadsheets and all that.
I
Charts
literally-
and graphs.
Right.
Right.
So the other night we were in the closet, right? And, we started somewhere else, ended up in the closet upstairs. And,
We tried the laundry room. We were like,
we
no,
tried
no,
the
no,
laundry
no,
room.
no,
We were
no.
like, no.
Once again, parental advisory is
Everybody don't need to hear this. Everybody don't need to
After
hear.
dark episode. Put your kids away.
Kids way.
So we ended up in the closet and in our bed because it's a big closet to walk in. So we ended up there, and then how do we?
It was Matthew.
Oh, yeah. So the
What's
next
the blanket
morning,
doing in the
Matthew goes,
closet?
"Mommy, you guys have a blanket and a pillow on the floor in the closet." He's like, I was like, "Oh, Samantha was wanted to sleep in our bed and just something about snoring, and just in case mommy thought about sleeping in the closet."
Really?
Whatever. And I looked at Daniel like, "You didn't move the evidence," because the older ones would just know. The older ones would just be like,
They ask
"What was
no
going
question
on
in the
this
closet.
Yeah,
Because we're not
So-
going to get my shoes in there now.
Right.
Thanks, mom and dad.
right.
And
Yes.
so we have other clues like my wife's idea of foreplay is like she'll put on her robe. Mm-hmm. And I know.
Is this the famous robe?
Yeah, the robe.
the famous
and then,
robe.
or when she locks the door.
Yeah,
Like, it was like, oh, she locked the door. Oh, yeah, it's going to
He
be.
knows.
I know. That those are little codes that only her and I guess everybody else on the podcast.
Yeah,
We used to have
right.
that code too.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I used to love when that door used to lock.
Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh. You lock it? They're
Yeah.
like, when you lock it, it's like, oh, you dare. Like,
Right.
what are you thinking? You're locking the door? Like, oh.
when she lock
when
it.
she locks.
Right.
Oh.
It's going.
And then
to-
the other day I had big
Oh.
plans because I was like, okay, I told you about this. I was like, okay, we were up kind of late. I was up watching something with Samantha, so getting her to bed or whatever. And then I was like, oh, so Daniel was downstairs. So I was like, oh, great. Let me take a shower, get my little outfit on, put my robe on over it,
I'm ready.
bada bing, and I'll go downstairs because we usually at night we'll watch TV together
Right.
till we fall asleep.
Right.
And then so I come out,
You
I'm
ready.
ready, got my robe on, I had to keep it high.
I have no idea.
Whatever. And so he was in the bed asleep. I was like,
Because
like, who told him to come
Mr.
upstairs
Sanchez.
and whatever.
'cause I
Not
think
Mr.
you know the
Sanchez.
story. Mr. Sanchez, I didn't know anything. Samantha was sleeping in my bed. I was tired. I just finished playing tennis outside.
Yes,
it was cold. My joints were hurting. I was like, okay, I showered. You guys did your devotional. I was in the shower. I get out of the shower. I'm tired. I go downstairs, try to figure out, get something to eat, come back upstairs. Samantha's in my bed.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to go to sleep. Right. So I fall asleep right next to her. And I had no idea.
So then I come out right. So Samantha's
when I
there,
wake up,
Daniel's there. And I was
I
like,
see
what
the
is
robe.
she doing in our bed? And
Mr.
he's
Sanchez.
asleep. Because I could have got rid of her. But
Mr. Sanchez, I wake up and I see the robe. And what do? I missed.
You know you missed your
right,
opportunity.
missed out.
Missed that opportunity.
He's
knew it.
staring at me like, is she gonna wake up? Wake
I
up,
was
wake
like-
up. He's trying to will me to wake up,
Darn kids.
and I didn't. So then the next morning, so he,
Showed
you
me
know,
her
he got up
drawers.
before me and stuff. So then I got up, and so before I got dressed, because I had a little outfit on underneath.
Right.
Or was it even an outfit? And so
She had
he's
no
at
drawers on.
his office. He's at the front, you know, in his office and stuff. And I was like, I just want you to see what you missed out on last night. And then I opened it up, and then I went back up. So he was like,
Putting pepper in my eyes.
So disrespectful.
First of all,
and then I just went
So
upstairs.
disrespectful.
The
I said, maybe
commentary,
we'll try again tonight.
So
commentary
disrespectful.
from Daniel from the back talking about she had on no drawers. It's just too much.
Drawers. She had no drawers. She's like, I'm like, why didn't I know this?
Why didn't you wake me up?
Why didn't you tell me?
So is it better now than it was 15 or?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like, you know, I think one, it's maturity,
Yes.
communication,
Yes.
more intimacy for sure. You know, it's like I don't know if it's something to do, and they say like women are in their sexual prime in their 40s. So I don't know if that's true or not, but
Right.
for sure, for
I
me,
passed
the
that
40s
already.
have been,
You
know,
the 40s
but
been
then I get
friends.
it. Like I get it now. Like when I remember like my grandmother used to talk about sex, and I'm like, you still having sex? And I just get it now. I'm like,
Right.
yeah. Like why would you stop? Like, you know what I'm saying? Even
I
if you're
get
like
it
70,
now.
80, like, yeah, keep
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
Keep energized.
Right.
As long as
Energized.
the hip don't break, keep doing it.
You know
Well,
what?
then you just,
Sanchez.
you know, figure out some other things.
You got a question. I see your face.
Because no, Daniel, go ahead.
Because the other to answer your question,
Uh-huh.
the other reason it's good is because, like, for a guy, and Sanchez can relate to this, rejection is like,
Yeah.
in the marriage, it's no good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
Right.
But so having a spouse that's willing
Yeah.
and is open, and it's not like, okay, no, has freed it up. So the
Right.
frequency doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
just the fact that if she's open to that, it
Yeah.
makes it even.
I try not to say no.
You're freed up a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I do say no, it's like more of like, I was like, okay, can we do more? You know, I'll say like, do you mind if like till maybe in the morning?
It's a
or
negotiation at
whatever.
that point instead of just a hard no.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because
Right.
before it would just be like, no, I'm tired.
I think what happens a lot of
Yeah.
the times that people forget, as men, we actually do have emotions.
Right.
We actually
This is
do
true.
have feelings.
Right.
We actually do feel rejection. We
Right.
we feel that.
Right.
Right.
We actually do start looking at ourselves differently.
Yeah.
Because for me, I can only speak for me. I did something that no one else was willing to do. I married you. I gave you my last name. I devoted my life to you. And for you to be that person to reject me and just flat out tell me no with no remorse.
Right.
Because a lot of the times it's like no remorse.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'll see the kids ask for something, and you know it's a soft no, and
Right.
it's a well, I hurt their feelings, so
It's gentle no.
It's a gentle no,
Right.
And if they act a certain way, then they get what they want because you don't want their little feelings hurt,
Right.
But then I come
Right.
and I feel like I'm contributing more to this relationship than the kids,
Right.
and you got no problem hitting
Saying
me
no.
with the hard no,
Yeah.
with that hard
Yeah.
network out. You got no problem
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And for a while, for me, that did something to my psyche for a while.
Yeah.
Because to be
Yeah.
honest, all cards on the table, I warned my wife early on that if we continue down this trend, I'm going to get to the point I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
You did.
And I'm
You
going to
don't
get to the
want that.
point that I don't even care about sex anymore.
Yeah.
And if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
then it turned into she would want it, and I became the no person.
Yeah.
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 No, I don't
I
want
think
this
you
no.
went
Well, I
through
had-
something similar, right? Well,
I
maybe,
did, but I had a conversation
You
with you.
told
Is when
me,
I
yeah.
came back from Cameroon, because what I realized, as we talk about this,
Yeah.
when I get to a point where I don't care,
Right.
it becomes like I'll do stuff that's like the most dangerous man is one that doesn't have accountability.
Exactly.
And I was getting to the point where
That's
it's like, Lord, I
so
know my
good.
Lord, I know I love you, God, but I'm not getting what I need. My needs are not being met.
Right.
And I was like, I literally backed up from that machine because it was the time where my friend was trying to set me up and they didn't know that I'm not that type of guy. And, you know, we're going to dinner and he's got Naomi Campbell in the back seat and I don't know.
Right.
And I was like, you and I, and then
Not
why are
literally
you ushering
Naomi
me to the back seat
Right.
when it's you and I? Oh, it was a setup.
Right.
And through the dinner, the guys are like, I'm not that type of guy,
Right.
you know? And so
Yeah.
I had to come back. I said, honey, I don't want to get to that point where
Yeah.
because those opportunities are always coming up.
Yeah.
Where I just say, I had that conversation and I was
Yeah.
like, let's work this thing
Yeah.
out. Let's get this, because when you have no accountability, it's just so. And the other thing, just to add to what
go ahead.
Sanchez was saying, like, I felt like my needs weren't important.
Right. Like
know,
everyone
it's-
else's work.
Everybody else's,
Yeah.
but my needs are
Yeah.
not important enough for you to do that. And the needs are real. And so, but anyways.
I am.
And before
I'm
you do
sorry,
that,
baby, yes.
I just want to put one thing out there because I got my dude. I know he's out there. I know he's listening. Nah, dog, this is not an excuse to cheat.
Right.
You did not hear us say that.
Right.
That's right.
You did not hear us say that because your needs are not being met by your wife and she's telling you no, so you go outside the marriage. No, dog, and you will not say the Crenshaw Corner gave you permission to do that.
right.
Because that's not what we're saying.
Right.
What I am saying is that we need to be mindful.
Right.
Yeah.
As husband and wife, we need to be mindful
Yeah.
that our needs, it is our job to meet each other's needs.
Right.
That is what we're here for.
Right.
Right.
And we have to work through that. And no, that doesn't give you an excuse. Well, she don't want to sleep with me, but my secretary does, or she don't want to sleep with me, so the chick at the counter, at the checkout counter, thinks I'm cute. Nah, if you do that, you's a dirty dog. I'm just being honest. You
Right.
you at that point, you just look for a reason
Right.
to do it. It was your
Exactly.
justification because you wanted to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's not what we're saying at all.
Right.
But where we
saying
are
do
saying,
the work.
Yeah, do the work.
work.
Be
Fix it.
mindful and do the
Yes,
work and
do
put
the
the
work.
work in is what we're saying. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
cut you off, babe. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. And I think too, what me and Angela are saying and what I'm hearing from you guys. So first of all, I'm so glad that you guys, Sanchez and Daniel, that you're so transparent with that, because it lets them know that they're not by themselves, right? And also for us to remind ourselves that you guys are. I think sometimes we're as wives, we think if we have that kind of husband, you guys are more superheroes than anything to us, right? Y'all like Superman and Batman. So the whole emotional thing. When he came to me and was like, I feel rejected, I feel like I'm not attractive, I'm looking at him like, okay, this is how you're making me feel. I never thought of it that way. I never thought that my no made him feel, he's Superman to me. He's everything. He's bigger than life to me. So, which is wrong on my part because.
Even Superman and Batman got sons.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying.
Really, Sanchez?
Superman and Batman got sons.
Can I finish this sentence?
I'm just saying.
I can't stand
That means
you right
they
now.
doing it.
That's all I'm saying.
Super.
Thank you, babe, for
They got
reminding.
sons.
Thank you for the reminder. The reminder. But I just think that I thought of that way. So when he said it to me, I was kind of set back, like, you don't feel attractive, you don't feel, not knowing that that's what I was doing to him.
Right.
Had no clue. And then the second part is when he did back up from me, and then I wanted to, I was like, what do you mean? Did he say
He
no?
like, no thanks. I'm good.
He would he didn't do like a hard no. He's never done a hard no. He do a no with his back to you. It's like no, and he turned his back. So that's, to me, that's hurtful, And I'm
Right.
like, at least if you're going to say no, still look at me. He was like, nah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I'm going to sleep. I'm out.
Right.
And I felt some type of way. And then I had to realize, ooh.
That's what he
Yeah.
felt like.
That's what he felt for a long time.
Yeah.
You see him saying like a long time. And he's right. At one point, he just said, all right, then. I'm not going to bother you about this no more. I'm not going to. And I think that sometimes when you can't have what you want, it's more attractive. Because I was like,
Why you like, oh, I'm
wait
gonna show you want this.
Wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, is that what we're doing now? Is that, how we're doing it? And I just think that people need to understand that this is such an important conversation. It's an important dynamic of your marriage. And if you, just because you didn't have that conversation with your family or your parents, you need to have that conversation with your spouse.
Right.
You need to know what they like. So from what I had heard, Angela, you more of the adventurous side.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
get more. Dan, you not as adventurous. Is he
right.
coming along?
No, he is. No. So that was just an assumption I made about him.
Oh, he's adventurous.
So it was like he said, like when I brought up early, like in the beginning of our marriage,
Right.
with the tying up and all that other stuff. I took his response as like, oh wow, you're freak, crazy, oh my gosh, weirdo. But his was more like, wait. a man cannot take fire into his bosom and not be burned. And now she's talking about
burning
handcuffs and burning me, literally. So for him, his was more like him just having that moment of like
trying to process all of it.
Right, reconciling these two different people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but as we began to talk, I was like, you what? Like you would do it? So the stuff he was telling me, I was like surprised because I just had this image. So he's down for anything.
Right.
So it's
you better go, Daniel.
Yeah.
Like, is there something?
Nah, I'm gonna speak for my friend. There's some things that's off limits.
Well, I mean,
so I'm gonna speak on behalf of my friend. There's some things.
Nothing's ever come up that's been so
off limits.
There haven't been any three little people in the clowns or anything.
I'm just saying, there's some toys out there. If you bring it to the bedroom, I may shake you. That's all I'm saying. You may get shaken.
Baby shaking syndrome.
Huh?
Baby shaking
syndrome. Baby syndrome.
Shaking baby syndrome.
Baby shaking syndrome.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So say just
go to the store together.
What about you?
What up, babe?
Do y'all go to the store together?
We went a couple of times.
Yeah, we've been.
That's fun. Like to go, to the Adam and Eve store or to whatever. Like so you don't buy things that your person doesn't want to play with.
And now you in the back of your head and you touch the back of your
some
shoulders.
of that stuff in there was like, some stuff we couldn't remember the swing thing. We're like, man, but we have kids, so we could never get away.
Yeah, we
with
looked
that.
at this. I thought about the
really
swing, but I'm like, no, since it's 6 something.
But yeah, that's a fun thing
work.
too. Like to kind of break that. Like if you're struggling, you can just be like, you know what? Hey, let's just go to the store together and find like one thing that we can try out together. Whether it's a body oils, the little scented,
right, or you put on your body,
lubricants, or something that you need batteries for.
See, here's the thing.
What were you about to ask me though?
No, here's the thing about Sanchez.
What about Sanchez?
Here's the thing.
Tell me about Sanchez.
Right?
You were about to ask him something.
See, Sanchez is more free spirit than I am, right? Mm-hmm. And so he would do some free spirit stuff, and then my mom going, "What chick he did that with?" Because that's brand new. Like my mind. I'm telling you. Okay, family,
I can't wait. I gotta explain where this came from.
So don't he did that with? All right, family, don't be trying to leave me. As some of y'all be thinking, because he'll be like, do something that's super duper new, and I'll be like, okay,
right? What you been watching?
So
I'm a researcher. Maybe I do a research.
So he's much more freer than I am, and trying stuff and doing stuff, and I'm looking at him like, okay, bro, where that came from? You know what I'm saying? So
you better be thinking about me while you're doing that.
Like, what was that? So it's so weird to hear that because we haven't been to the store.
No, we never.
I went with the girls to the store.
Yeah, you went with them.
Yeah.
To be honest, the only reason I've never brought that up is because, like Angela, I made an assumption about you. Yeah. I didn't think you would be into that, so I never even brought it up. I never even thought that would be something that you would want to do with me.
But who do you think I am?
I'm sorry?
Who you think I am? Am I that square for you? Did you like?
I mean, you got to see where he's coming from.
No, I'm asking
because of your reaction to other stuff. You just make this assumption like, that's I crossed the boundary that they're not willing to go.
That's what I'm asking. Like, what made you think that you couldn't say that? Like, what did I give? What essence?
Because for 21 and some odd years, all I've ever heard is that you don't really care about sex like that.
Yeah,
that's all I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You don't really care about sex like that. You can go without sex, which you've proven you can. So
in the pudding.
Yeah, I mean the proof is in the pudding. So when you have someone that constantly tells you something, it's like my Angela said. When someone shows you who they are, you believe them.
Right.
So from the beginning of our relationship, you've always told me you will have sex, but it's not important to you.
Right.
It's not something that really means anything to you.
Right. But I've grown.
No, you have.
I've grown greatly.
I appreciate that.
Because I'm like, I have grown. In 21 years, I didn't grow.
No, don't misunderstand. Please don't misunderstand. Where we've come from and where we are, I'm very thankful. Very thankful. But it's just when you, it's conditioning. Yeah. When you tell someone something for so long. I used this analogy before. It's like when you tell a little kid that they're nothing and that's one of their kids. Speaking of kids.
They always know.
Yeah, so when you tell a kid for so long that they are nothing, then that resonates with them and they believe that.
Yeah.
So when you tell someone for so long that you don't really care about sex.
Yeah, I got it.
Because you flat out told me that you're not a sexual being.
Yeah.
So after a while, it's like, why even have those conversations?
Yeah.
We just stay in our little box. You good, I'm good.
Everybody good.
Yeah, and plus, I also know how your mind works. And you said that jokingly, but that's a real conversation we would have to have.
Yeah.
That if I come out the box with something new that we've never done,
Yeah.
Right.
I got to explain that.
Right.
What the?
Yeah.
Right.
And you know the crazy part about it is not even that I'm not I think what I've done because of my past and all the things that have happened to me in a sexual orientation way, that it's not that I'm not a sexual being, but because I do, when we're together, I totally enjoy it. I think it's incredible, amazing. We go a long time. But anyway, but every now and then there's still that old part of me that's like, I don't want to do that. Because for a long time I had to learn that I wanted to be pleased too, because it was just he wanted it, let's please him, because that's how I was conditioned. That's what I thought. Right. I thought sex was about. It's for them. It was never for me until I got a little bit older and was like, okay, this is for me. And then I was doing well, and then it kind of like something happened and I shifted back again. And so now I'm growing again in this arena and going, okay, this has to be about me. What am I enjoying? I have to, like you said, I have to fantasize about not only him, but my sexuality, who I am, what I feel sexy in, and what I do. So I have to change the whole dynamic and the whole thought process so I can be this thing that I know that's really inside of me.
Right.
But every now and then, because of the tainted, and it's not always, the taintedness will kind of like, so I always tell him, I said, I appreciate the fact, because he knows everything about me. And the fact that he's like, I'm willing to be accountable. I'm willing to stick it out when you're ready, whatever you're ready for. But sometimes I do tell him, I feel sorry for you sometimes.
Yeah,
right? I do say to him, I feel bad.
It's kind of what my sister says, like he's being punished for
somebody
else did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, so you have to one, figure out like, how do I get healing from that? And how do I just allow myself to be with him sexually?
Yeah.
Like to try all the things and to do the things and not look at it, as weird or like, it's just kind of like, going to the store and just like him saying, hey, let's try this. Like, I mean, you're tiny and he's little. Y'all can, I can tell y'all. There's all kinds of really fun things you guys could do.
But the crazy part is I'm open, but the thing is now that I'm open to it, he's closed off to it because he doesn't realize that I'm open to it. He hasn't had, like you said, we haven't had the conversation now because he knows what he knows.
So I think what it is
we've evolved.
So I think now you just have to take the initiative.
It's my work now. This is my work.
Because it's kind of like he's fought the battle for 2 decades.
Yeah.
And so now he has a sort of
Not
mindset
that
he.
I said I've been good.
Right, but I'm saying
I've been better.
But it's been a while.
2 decades.
Better. Right.
It's been
Even though 2 decades.
Right. So for him, it's just kind of like
only been a good 6 months.
So you have to kind of like prove to him, and I kind of felt the same way with Dan. Like I had to prove to him that I was like truly his and sexually open to him and like in like enjoying it and taking the initiative. Yeah. And so now it's like, I think for you, it's like you have to do that thing.
It's my work.
Right.
My turn.
Of like, okay, like we're just gonna like let's talk about like, okay, babe, hey, can you come in here for a minute?
Yeah.
And just do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
And do something you've never done before.
Yeah.
And just so it's like almost you got to untrain some, things and then train.
I got to let him know that I'm open. I'm open. I'm open. Hello.
I'm cool with that because I want to do stuff like you wake up with semen on your face.
Okay, wow, that was not.
I'm just saying.
Please, somebody edit that. Edit it. Edit it.
I'm the editor, so
edit that. Thanks.
I'm just saying.
You're talking to your man.
Edit. Somebody edit that, please. Please.
Actually, I did that for a purpose, though. I actually said that for a reason.
See how I was gonna cringe?
It has nothing to do with that because Christian married couples will not have conversations like that,
or have fun conversations,
and have fun conversations, because there is a stigma, in which I don't understand, and actually that's going to lead me to the next question I have for you guys because I'm curious about something. But there's a stigma within married couples about sex. And you touched on it earlier because you didn't want Daniel to look at you a different way. You didn't want Daniel to think that you were a freak or you were a stranger when it comes to that. But because the conversation was never had because that's something married couples don't do.
Yeah.
They don't have, which is crazy to me because this is the fun part of marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got free reign.
Yeah. All of marriage is hard. All of marriage is work. But this is the fun part of marriage that as married couples, we don't take full advantage of. But I'm curious about something. because you guys are real big on communication. You guys are real big on conversation. Mm-hmm. What type of conversation do you have with your kids about sex?
Yeah.
Do you have conversations with your kids about sex?
Are you your parents?
I just started having conversations with my son Matthew, and I got a book that's it's called "What Boys Should Know."
Right.
And we've started, and we'll take a page every day. Well, it's more like once a week now. But it'll go through hygiene. It'll go through just like what do boys need to know at this age, puberty and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we've started on sex.
Wow.
And we went through, but it was more like, okay, where do babies come from? That kind of stuff. But it wasn't like, okay, you're going to get a girl and you're going to, none of that.
Right.
But that's where we've started so far with like me and the boy. Now, I have not had conversations.
I do the girl talking.
She does a girl talking.
I was about to ask you that too.
Yeah.
She does a girl talking. And then we share notes, and once in a while we'll talk.
Right.
But for the most part, she does the girl talking.
And I literally from when the girls were young, I was like, when you're ready to, when they kind of knew what sex was, that, started hearing things. Right. And I just said, no, when you're ready, let me know. And I would always tell them, if you have questions, you hear something, you hear a word, you're not like, come back to me and tell me. Right. And they did. So they got in the habit very young to just like, you know what? And I would keep it, if they weren't ready for it, like it really wasn't age appropriate, I would say like, okay, well, when you go in the kitchen and move the refrigerator, then we'll have the conversation. And then they'd be like, well, the refrigerator is too heavy. And I'm like, well, so is that question. Like, you're not ready for it yet. Right. So just trust me that, right now, don't worry, whatever. Yeah. And then when the time was right, it would come up. And so I literally, when Alexandra came to me and she's like, okay, Mom, we're in the car. She's like, tell me, I'm ready to know. So that was she was the first one. So I was like, okay. And I knew I was just going to tell you everything.
How old was she?
She was
13. 14.
No, she's only been 14. Yeah, 14, maybe even close to 15,
Okay.
And so I was like, okay. And so I said, well, initially it was a little awkward because I was like, okay. So cause she was like, I get, the man has the sperm and the woman has but how does the sperm get to the
She want to know it all.
So I was like, okay. So I used the puzzle analogy. Like God created our bodies to fit together like a puzzle. So He has a piece of the puzzle, and you have a piece that fits perfectly into the puzzle and stuff. And she was like, yeah, I don't get it. So I was like, yeah. I was like, so just because she know male anatomy because she we studied it and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, just think about. So I was like, okay. And again, this is because this is my first time. It's a little awkward to and so then I said, so think about the guy's part, and she was like, she was like, oh my gosh, what? Kind of, and then
the puzzle.
So then we went through the whole thing, like so, like whatever, and we talked about oral sex, we talked about like just different kinds of sex, so you pregnancy, so we real good Christian because
oral sex, all that Christians don't do that.
We
don't
talked about that, and so I just told her everything. So anytime she would have a question, she my mom, my friend was talking about her teacher had a woody or hard on. What is that? And then I would tell her what it was. Or she would just say, a blowjob. Like what? And so they would they got comfortable, like, like mommy's okay. And we would talk about it. What sex is, within marriage, and, what happens when you have sex outside of marriage. So we literally just, and still do, have all kinds of conversations. And then when go ahead, honey.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, so then when Sydney was ready, so Sydney was like, I'm not ready. I don't want to know. So she she was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No. Then she finally, maybe a year and a half later, after Alex was like, okay, fine, go ahead. I'm ready. Tell me. Right. So I gave her, told her everything and stuff. And she goes, wait, so you and Daddy have done it more than 4 times? Because she thought you just had sex to have a baby. Okay. She didn't understand. Like, I was like, no, like sex is fun. It's amazing. It's intimate. It's for you. So I'm explaining that it's not just to have children or whatever. And she was a little traumatized. And she was like, wait, y'all just doing that for fun? Like, just right. And stuff. So to this day, I mean, they're 19 and 20 now. And so they still, talk to me about it and ask questions and, they have a lot of friends that have lost their virginity. Right. And so they kind of see how sex outside of marriage, is more of a tool for a lot of women to keep their man, or it's a tool for manipulation, or a tool like just to, for just casual whatever. So I'm glad that they've kind of see like the dangerous side of sex, but no, I totally, I tell them everything. There's nothing that's not on the table. We joke, we let them know, man, daddy are doing it, so because I wanted to make it, I don't want them to go into marriage like kind of a prude, like I was, like or that growing up, like sex is this awful, dirty, nasty thing. Only bad girls do it, and so I would just always like, I want them like, we talk about with your husband. I'm like, you better, because Sydney would be like, I'm like, listen, girl, you better get it together because when you get married, your husband, to just really let them know, like go into marriage and want to have sex with your husband and be open to it. And you could do it all the time if you want. Right. And so I'm just very open with them about that. And we tell them, I'm like, listen, man, I'll, in front of them, we'll be like, make out in front of dude, and they're like, oh, whatever, because I want them to see like a husband and wife interacting in a intimate manner, and man, dad are doing it, and you should be too, and not now, but.
And Sydney said something that was, and maybe we'll touch on that later, but I wanted to say, just like in speaking to my son, it's now his mind is very literal. So if you tell him, I could tell Matthew, hey, listen, this is only for marriage, and it's only for marriage.
Right.
He will literally, in his mind, that's what my dad told me. But I want him to understand it fully. Right. So I'm taking it in stages. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm trying to model it, because what we tried to model in our home ever since kids were little, there's certain things that he can't see. Right. Certain things that you can't, and he's like, Dad, why? I was like, and I'm trying to explain it to him in a way that he understands it, because he's so literal. Right. He's like, why can't I watch a PG-13 movie?
Right.
Why can't I? And I'm like, oh, great. And so, but the lifestyle of us trying not to watch certain things, expose them to certain things, has created a platform for us to be able to communicate to them in a way that they will receive it and it's not tainted in a way. And so Sydney said something the other day to me that shook me, where she said, Dad, the only reason that Alex and I are not out there is because of the way you guys are living your life.
Right. And I think, no, it was Alex. Sydney said that, but Alex said to me, she was like, I think that if Sydney and I would be different people, and we probably wouldn't be virgins, maybe, whatever. She said, but we saw you guys, if you guys didn't actually live what you preach. Like we see that the same person you are outside the home, what you teach, how you are at church and other places, you also model that in the home. Right. And I think that if we didn't see you guys actually living the life that you are preaching or telling us about, or telling us like, oh, do X, Y, Z, they see us praying, they see us in the word, they see us like living a certain way. Right. And so I think that's what's, kind of kept them this far.
Keep them grounded.
Did you guys
and we didn't, and they used to get slack when they were kids, because we wouldn't let them watch, all their friends were watching Twilight and all these movies with and we were just like, no, like you can't, because what it's like as a kid to be exposed to sexual stuff. Like you can never unsee
Daniel and Sanchez.
And so they would never, and they would just feel, they would be so frustrated with us, and the people would be like, oh, you can't keep them up. But we knew that there was a time
for everything.
So it wasn't like we were never going to tell them about it or let them be exposed to it.
There's a time
we
for
just
everything.
knew at the maturity level that they are, we want to do it the way we feel is the right way to do it. And let's have the conversation, and let's slowly, not just like boom, and then like, whoa, what did they just do?
Where did it come from?
Right.
Was there ever a fear with you and Daniel in having the conversation with your girls and with your son, and thinking me telling them gives them the okay to go do it? Did you ever, because I know growing up a lot, that's why the older generation didn't have those conversations, because they felt as though if I tell you about it, then I'm giving you permission to go do it. So I'm just curious.
Not understanding that.
Yeah, not understanding.
Telling them is horrible.
Right. I agree. I think not telling, because I just use myself as a model. Like I just knew how naive I was and how little I knew and stuff, and like what I wish I knew and what I wish somebody had just told me the truth, and so I just didn't want them to kind of be ignorant and like hearing stuff from friends that half the stuff wasn't true. And I remember once they're in a playground and they said one of the friends said, I don't even know if I can say this on here, but she was saying that sex is when I don't know why she said this. They were like 10 is when, or I don't know if she used the word sex, but she may have, is when a guy sticks his thumb up your butt. So they're like, Mom, so-and-so said that the S word and that it's when, and I was like, what?
So
I was like, no. I said, sweetheart, I was like, no, that is not true, and whatever. But it was like, you're not ready for the full conversation, but and I just reiterated again and just reinforced, come to mommy. Like, if somebody tells you something, don't just believe them. Come to me, because there was a few things that they had heard from friends that was just totally off the mark.
Not good.
That's one of the lines that I was talking about earlier. Yeah. Don't be crossing certain lines. Keep your thumb to yourself.
Keep your thumb to yourself.
I'm not a bowling ball. Keep your thumb to yourself.
I'm done.
So based on what she said, I think answer your question, and I think you may have touched on it earlier. The sex education, it doesn't happen one-off.
Right.
It is a process, and you've got to walk with your kids through it.
Every age group.
Every age group, but also continue to walk through it with them until
even
marriage.
into adulthood.
Into adulthood, until marriage. Because that's really what's going to make the difference.
Even in marriage, because some parents, sometimes you have to talk to them about it as well. Right. I made Morgan cry because I told her, you're going to go have to talk to your dad about sex. She cried. She was like, oh, no. Oh, that's not happening. I said, you know why? I don't want the divide. I don't want where everything is coming to mommy and you and daddy is having surface conversation. I need you to have in-depth conversation. And he was like, oh, you don't send it to me. I was like, no, yes, I am. If something happened to me, you guys need to have more conversations. She needs to hear from you. She needs to know what your thoughts are. This girl, when I say she cried, she was like, because it did that. I was like, girl, get over yourself. You have to talk to your dad about these things. You need to have his male perspective. She thought if she would even think about it or talk about birth control pills or anything that he was going to think she was doing it or think these bad things about her. That's not her dad, but that's how close she is to him, that she didn't want his thoughts to be. And for him, he was like, I don't want to know.
Yeah, no, I wasn't looking forward to that conversation. I mean, I know I had to have it because it's a different perspective I had to come from.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking forward to that conversation at all.
Right. She was fearful. She was like, I
get that because I would never want to. I mean, any parental figure, I don't want to talk to you. Like, yeah, I get it. I mean, like if I'm actually like doing it,
right?
But
she wouldn't do nothing. She would be like, okay, I'm thinking about this, and because she had got on birth control very early in the game because she had fibroids and they was trying to shrink them and all that good stuff. And so even I said, well, we're gonna explain this to your dad, and she, but why? Right. But why are we doing that? Because now he's gonna think that I'm like, girl, like that was how much she thought of him. But I said, you have to talk to your father. We have to, as mothers, have to stop and get out of the way, especially with girls, and let them talk to their dads about certain things because it is a male perspective. Yeah. It don't have to go so as in depth as it would with a mom, but she needs to know that he's available to her at all times. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things with the guys. It was a little bit different. I don't even know what Sanchez and did y'all talk about?
Yeah, no, we did. But I had a different conversation with my sons because a lot of the times, when we talk to boys and we talk to young men about sex, we're only talking about the physical aspect of it. Yep. We're only talking about, you do this, she gonna get pregnant. We only talk about that. Don't condom. Don't bring it.
Do it.
That's. But I went from a different perspective with them. I explained to them their bodies are just as precious as a female's body. Your body is not to just be given to any and everybody. You're not just out here to be pollinating. That's not what you're just not out here because every time you have sex, it is a give and a take. You are giving of yourself to someone. You're entering someone's body. You're giving of yourself, and you're losing a piece of yourself every time you did it. So my conversation with them, we had the physical aspect in conversation about sex, but we also talked about the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect. We talked about it all because I needed to understand that, I know what society and I know what you've heard that a man is supposed to do when it comes to sex, but that's not the case. Right. Yeah. Because you have to understand your body is just as important. Right. That who you are and giving up your virginity is just as important as when a woman does it.
Absolutely. So I think that's definitely, a lot of men
Yeah.
and moms need to have that conversation with guys, because it's like we're teaching our daughters purity and save yourself till marriage, and then we're handing our sons condoms. So like, wait, so who the boy? Right. So the boys are obviously going to be having sex with your daughter,
right.
you know, whatever. So, and I think and I think you're right with all aspects. Like, you know, for the girls, even when they're young, we talked about, you know, like arousal.
Yeah.
We talked about, you know, just like because the girls like, oh, I wouldn't. And I was like, listen, now never say never. Like, I know that's your desire to keep your virginity until you're married, and I hope they do.
Right.
But I told them, I said, you haven't been in love yet. So when we started teaching them about boundaries and dating, I was like, I don't care. I said, I have seen the most holy, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, water baptized women end up, you know, losing their virginity, or like people that you're like,
even men,
you know, and you know, but. And because you just think like, no, she's on fire for God. She would never. I was like, but when you fall in love, and that joker could even hold your hand, I said, that electricity pierces through your body, and you get all warm and moist and whatever. You know, we moist.
You
just say?
Yeah. So I had to tell them you're physically, and I said, and sometimes it's hard to fight that feeling, and then that kiss leads to a touch, and then that touch, and next thing you know, like, wait, what did we just do?
And that's why our kids got teased, because at 10 o'clock, was it 9 or 10?
It was like 10 o'clock.
About 10 o'clock, the cell phones came to us in our room, and we plugged them up, and they couldn't get them in the morning. And if they were on the phone, the lights had to be on, the door had to be open, because that nighttime talk is dangerous. Nighttime talk will go to a daytime situation. So all their friends would tease and be like, oh my God, we can't, no. Phone, bedroom.
Right.
If you're on the phone before that time, lights on, door open. I know what nighttime talking do, and you won't be doing it up in this piece.
Yeah,
and
so I used to do it.
Yeah.
I know you did.
I did.
Coming to church with hickeys on. Hickeys on your neck.
Look, I'm gonna be honest. So from about
2 years old.
Wow.
When Angela plucked him out of the nursery.
When I took him out the nursery. Come on, speak it, y'all, speak
I
it.
think about it, 11 to 12 years old to about 19. I was a hoe.
Wow.
Now, how did you become a hoe at 11?
I thought that you said you were, what's the word?
I was friendly.
He was friendly. That's the nonsense.
So how does an 11-year-old back in 1922? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, like, how did at 11? Because that always fascinates me. Like, how does an 11-year-old become a Tatiana?
It was because Emmanuel.
Really?
No, because what happened was, and we talked about this on a previous episode. My first introduction into sex and the physical aspect of sex was through pornography. So that's what I saw.
Right.
So I wanted to emulate what I saw. And what happened is that at that point in time, females stopped being females to me, and they became a receptacle.
That's why people got to be careful with that pornography.
Because at that moment, all I did was substitute you for the person I saw.
Right.
Because the person I saw, she was doing a lot of things. It was just attractive. So all I did was just substitute you for her.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm not with you, I'm with her.
Right.
And I want to do having fun.
Right.
And because also pornography makes it so it's just about the dude.
Right.
It's about his end result. And that's what I started emulating. And then I was charming. So I've always been a good talker. I can talk myself in and out of pretty much any situation. So, and I did that. So, and I was broken, and I was looking for something to fill those gaps.
Yeah.
And I found it very easy to have females fill that gap because I was always looking for somebody who wanted to please me. And plus, to be honest, I was a predator. I look for the wounded.
Right.
So
tell the truth.
Yeah. And from like 11, from basically my teenage years to my early 20s, and basically, to be honest, until I met my wife, I always looked for wounded women. I had
easy target.
Yeah, very easy targets.
Yeah.
You know, my wife said it earlier, I had the Superman syndrome. I was always looking to save somebody because I know if I save you, I can get what I want.
Right.
I ain't need saving.
Yeah.
The devil is a bro.
Yeah. So so that's how it was very easy. So, and even though, like I said, I came from a Christian home, I came from a Christian background.
Yeah.
My mother, she's the strongest woman of faith that I know. My grandfather, you cannot tell me anything wrong about my grandfather. I know the moment my grandfather closed his eyes, he awoke in heaven. I know his walk.
Right.
My grandmother, this is what I was taught. You know, I was taught scripture before. I was taught King James before I was taught Dr. Seuss. That's what I grew up with.
Right.
But that was an easy transition for me.
Right.
Because I was broken.
Right.
Because no one had that conversation with me.
Right.
The only thing they told me was don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Not
going.
why.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't-
Don't be questioning
Don't
nobody
do
now.
it. You're going to hell if you do it.
Right.
Pretty
I
much.
take that chance.
Yeah.
I mean, as horrible as that sounds, but I'm.
So you and Angela laid the Bible down.
just
You and
saying.
Angela laid the Bible
yeah,
down.
but I'm.
I laid it down in college.
Yeah.
He laid it down.
I didn't. I
He
didn't
left
make it
in
to
elementary school.
I didn't make it to
He was
college.
elementary.
I didn't make it.
Elementary.
Right.
I didn't make it to college.
Elementary.
So, and at that point, you know, I'm willing to take that chance. As horrible as it sounds, and I know it doesn't sound good, but I'm broken.
Right.
I got voids. By that time, I had already buried a brother. I buried a grandfather. My grandfather, the one I grew up with, now he's sick. So I'm dealing with this. I buried a best friend.
Right.
So I'm broken at this point. And I'm looking for anything.
Anything to fill the
Right.
void.
I'm looking for anything to fill the
Yeah.
void. And at that point, when I'm seeing in these videos, that look good.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
He seemed to be happy.
With no direction, no clarity, none.
Right.
Just off of what you see.
Just off of what I
you
see. Just what I see.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was made easy for me.
Yeah.
Because, back then, light-skinned brothers was in.
Was like them brothers in, baby.
Light-skinned brothers was
they
in
was
back
in.
then.
You remember.
You know, the Albee shoes
Wait,
out
wait,
there.
yeah, wait.
That boy who brought me to his house and put on the
He was light skinned. He was light skinned.
He ruined. I said, I ain't messing with these light skinned brothers.
Light-skinned brothers,
Yeah,
yeah.
I said, I don't even know what's going on. What was that? No, thanks.
So that's
And Tony was light skinned too, by the way.
Who's Tony?
The one who showed me his penis.
the 33-year-old had shoulder penis.
He was not. He was like literally like,
Your neighbor. It was your neighbor. It was your neighbor. It was your neighbor. Hello, neighbor.
he was
Hello,
like,
neighbor.
what's with these light skinned dudes?
Yes.
So that's why you just have to be careful.
You do.
Yeah.
And I
You have to be
get it.
careful.
And I know parents, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure when you first had this, and your boy's brilliant. He has a brilliant mind. And I know the relationship you have with him, and I know how much he loves you and how much you love him. But I know the first time that you had to sit down and have that conversation, it was not a comfortable conversation.
No.
And Alex sitting in your car and you wherever
we're
you
out, yeah.
you know what I'm
It
saying, and
was
you're on your way to
weird.
ballet rehearsal,
Right.
wherever you were going.
Right.
I was like, what?
And she comes out the blue, okay, now I'm ready. Even though you had laid the foundation
Yeah.
for it, that's not an easy conversation to have. The conversation that we've had with our kids
Oh, Lord.
is not an easy conversation to have.
But it's needed.
But it's needed. Go ahead, baby.
I would rather feel uncomfortable with my children in that manner than them not be educated in that manner. For them to not to experience what I experienced in a way that tainted them forever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I would prefer to be like, let me tell you what's not supposed to be touching, what's not supposed to be doing this, and what's not to be doing. And not even that, but the boundaries and the reason why. Because I can tell you don't do it, but then you want to know why. So you asking 1,000 people why, they give you 1,000 answers. So let me tell you why. Here's the boundaries. Here's the spiritual part of it. Here's the physical part of it. Here's the emotional part of it. You go ahead and you have this, especially as a female, you will become emotionally attached before he will sometime. And so now you done lost all your senses. Now you in the bushes, stalking this guy, like all this crazy stuff. And you thought it was just this act that you did. And it's so much more than that. And so to be able to express that to her and make her understand that this thing is an emotional thing.
And it's not just emotional too, but it's like, I think especially as Christian parents, you deny, especially with girls, like that they're like, I don't care. You could be at church all day, every day. You could be in your word. You are going to be sexually aroused.
Yes.
By something you see, something that's how God made us.
Yes.
Something you read in a book,
Yes.
something you see on TV. It could be a commercial. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're gonna feel sexually aroused, and if you don't address that and help and and acknowledge, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
This is how you work. And I think we think like, oh, they're great at school and and we forget
But
that
still.
sexual side of themselves that's just natural. Like
90%
it's just
of the time
whatever.
you can't even control it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Can't even
I
control it.
remember seeing, and I can't remember, it was something with cavemen and fire. You might know because you're like a movie guy. And I gotta say, it must have been like in the 80s.
Oh, I know what it was. That was the drummer from the Beatles.
No.
Was in it.
Was
His wife,
it? What
Barbara
was
Bach.
But was it? It was like the
I saw the movie.
Something I'll remember, but it was this movie, and it was about like the early civilization,
I know
cavemen
exactly
or
what you're
whatever.
talking
Do you
about.
remember the name of the movie?
Yeah.
2000 BC, something like that.
No, it wasn't. It was something of fire. Not I'm for some reason Chariots of Fire, but it wasn't that. But I'll think of it. But I just remember, and this was when my mom was still alive, so I had to have been 12 or younger. And I remember like walking by, and it was on the TV, and it was the two cavemen, and they were having sex.
Right.
And so, they didn't show it as graphically as they do now. But, it was like a doggy style, whatever. And now, mind you, I'm naive. I had a lot of stuff I didn't learn. But I remember seeing that, and I was like, and I was aroused.
Actually, I know exactly the movie you're talking about.
What is it?
I can't think of the name because it was, I want to say it was.
Barbara Bach was in it. That's
no, it's
Ringo
not
Starr's.
2000. No. It wasn't that one. It wasn't, because this was more of a serious movie.
Yeah.
Ringo Starr was more of a comedic movie.
I want to say, because I feel like that was
Arnold
Daryl
Schwarzenegger
Hannah.
was in it.
No,
It wasn't. It wasn't Conan. I think you're thinking of Conan.
It was. First of all, it was Daryl Hannah, and because that's when they had on their skins. They
had little skins.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly. But I believe it was. I believe it was
so
because they didn't even speak. They really didn't speak.
Nah,
They
at all.
didn't even
A lot of
talk.
grunting.
It was a whole lot of grunting.
Yeah, but they didn't speak.
And so
I know what you're
remember
talking about.
seeing that, and I for me, I think that was because that was just even to this day. I think that was my first awareness of sexual arousal, but I didn't know what it was.
Right.
But I know I watched it, and then I was like, whoa,
what's that about?
Like what's happening?
Right.
And I just remember, so it's gonna happen. Like Sanchez, even if you don't like involuntarily, like I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But I'm literally how God has us wired.
Yeah.
My eyes saw that. My brain registered it as something that I didn't even know what it was, and my body responded to it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's why I was like, okay, I know, because it happened to me and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't understand it. So I know that my kids are going to see something or read something, and they're going to be sexually aroused, and they're going to wonder, like, what's happening? It feels good, but I don't know. Is it right? Is it wrong?
Right.
Because that's, I think, the danger of pornography. Like, kids seeing it so young.
Yeah.
It's like they don't know what it is, but they get aroused, and it feels good.
Yeah.
And so they want to duplicate that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And so then you get masturbation that starts early, and then like I need to find something else to watch that again, and whatever.
Get that same feeling,
that same
high.
feeling, that same high, right? And so I think as parents, especially Christian parents, like it's gonna happen. I don't care how good your kids are, how straight their head is on, and how academically achieved, how their academic achievements, and it's gonna happen.
You can't put them in enough activities.
Right, for that to not happen.
There's not enough activities in the world.
Talk about it, address it.
That's what triggered me having that conversation with my son, because he walked across the room like, oh.
And he had a
erection.
Oh, now it's time to have the conversation.
It's time.
So I'm like, oh.
Right. I said to Daniel, I was like, oh, honey,
yeah. I said, that's.
Matthew woke up today, and he doesn't know what,
He doesn't know.
whatever.
He
And
was
I was like, and
so,
his,
I was like, buddy.
And I was like, can you?
But he was like, this is.
So he had to tell him, like, what,
Okay, now let's break this thing down.
The Clan of the Bear Cave is actually the name of that movie.
That is it.
The Clan of the Bear Cave.
Really, baby, you Googled this.
Yeah.
You was determined.
I'm sorry. I said it backwards. It's the Clan of the Cave Bear. Is actually what it is.
Yes.
I actually, because I Googled, I pulled up Daryl Hannah because it really was Daryl Hannah.
What's there? I remember.
And I couldn't find it that way, but then I Googled Daryl Hannah as a cave girl.
Right.
And it came up.
Yes.
It came up.
That's what it was.
Don't go watch
Now,
that
everybody
movie,
don't go
people.
run. That's the only
We're
scene
not
I
recommending.
remember.
We're not recommending.
That's the only scene I
We
remember.
didn't say it was a good movie, so don't y'all go out there trying to see
I don't
that.
even remember what it was about.
But
I
here's the
just
crazy
remember
part.
that scene.
Here's the crazy part. We all seen that movie. We all remember it, which is crazy.
So y'all must have remembered that scene too.
I just
That's the
remembered.
only scene I remember.
I just
see.
remembered her in the animal
See,
skin.
I didn't remember Daryl Hannah was in there. I
Well,
just
there's
remember
a
that
scene like that in Conan too.
Yeah,
Was
it
it?
is.
Oh,
it really
Lord.
is. I'm not gonna lie. That's
I don't remember that scene.
No, but that's one of the main reasons Doggy Style is my favorite.
Okay, thanks.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's one of the main reasons.
Really,
Angela, go on ahead and watch that movie with your man.
So that's why Daryl Hannah.
No, it's not.
No.
I'm just messing with him.
See, he didn't say Daryl. He was in that position.
Daryl
It was
Hannah.
no, it was
Yeah.
it was one of the first sexual acts
Yeah, I never seen
that I remember seeing.
I know. I love
So
you.
it was mine. Yeah.
I love you.
So-
Oh.
Yeah, and so at the time, I was like, man, that's hot. But I didn't say that at the time, but that's what my body said. I was like, what you know,
What's
danger.
that?
What is
Did
that?
you say danger?
Danger.
I have to do it, and I apologize, but I have to.
Ooh.
We got to wrap it up.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Oh,
we gotta
my
wrap it up, family.
goodness.
So as always, you know what we do. We do final thoughts.
We do final
So
thoughts.
I'm gonna start with Prince Daniel.
Oh, start with my wife.
Prince.
If she's prettier. Do
Go ahead.
The
man. You
prince.
got this.
final thoughts.
What's your final thoughts, my friend?
Gosh, how can you create a final thought after all these great thoughts and great things that were shared? I think that the big thing is when you talk about sex and you talk about marriage and you talk about sex before marriage and talking about your children, I think the biggest thing is, one, you have to make it a process, right? Where you're, it's not a one-off thing. Okay, we're gonna talk about sex ed, and then that's it,
And we're done. Mhm.
and we're done, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna create an atmosphere and an atmosphere for you to be able to communicate with us freely, and we're gonna walk you through this process versus kind of like this is it, and this is you're off, and so I think that's the biggest thing, biggest takeaway, and not to stigmatize it. And God created it for a husband and a wife to enjoy it, and really, as we teach our kids and as we're in our marriage, that we should be free to really experience all the fullness of what God has created, and so I think that's
My final thought would definitely be to, like, don't make the mistake that we made waiting so long. Like, even though, I was Miss Dr. Laura, that was just one thing that I didn't Dr. Laura.
I just listened to Dr. Laura the other day.
Right. I bought 2 of her books
I just listened to it
while
the
we were on
other day.
vacation.
Y'all are so sad. Y'all and Dr.
And so
Laura.
but that was one thing that I didn't, but I think, all the preconceived notions I had about sex and all the, dysfunctional ideas I had. But I would say communicate, like right from the beginning, during the engagement, like beginning of the relationship, talk about like sex expectations, experience, hang-ups, like all that stuff. And then also, like, just for women, I would just say, just do it.
Yeah.
Do it tired. Do it unsure. Do it insecure. Do it, well, am I not, am I not doing it right? Should I swerve to the right and not to the left? Or should I, so it's just kind of just communicate and like just do it, and like allow yourself to enjoy it. And then, look at your husband in a sexual manner, try new things, and just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Stop making excuses. Do it.
motto.
Why you staring at me though, sis? I don't hello.
What's your final thought,
My final thought is space and grace. That's my final thought for everything now. Giving your loved one grace when they're not where you are right now, and giving them space to grow in that area. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's not going to be on the same page when it comes to sexuality. One's going to be a little bit more freakier. I said freakier, get over it. Freakier than the other one. A little one's going to be more educated.
That's the least that we've said today. So it's okay to say freaky. That's the least
Right.
we've said.
Right. We said vagina. We didn't. We missed orgasm.
Yeah, there it
No,
is.
we
We didn't
said it.
miss
We
it.
said it.
We didn't miss it. There it is.
Oh, we did?
You
Oh,
just
I
said it.
did.
I
There it
said,
is.
I said you're
Okay.
gonna wake up with sand on your face.
No, player. Nope.
I said
nope.
moist.
No, I'm so mad at y'all right now. But no, just space and grace, and know that, because what I realized talking to you guys and with us too is that y'all grew into that. You gave each other space for that. You didn't wake up and like, you grew into that thing, and the more that you grow into it, the better it's getting. And the same thing for us, it's just the space and the grace. And so that's my final thing, is giving each other space and grace to grow, and grace to hold on and wait for that person to come where you are, and help them along the way.
Right.
Yeah, don't box them in.
Don't box them in.
Don't box them in. Don't box. Vogue,
I love
Vogue, Vogue. Okay, I'm sorry.
My final thought is actually going to be for the men that's listening, and it's going to be really simple. It's not about you. The sexual process, it's not about you. It's just not about the physical. You have to make it. You understand, men and women are built differently, and we're built differently for a reason. You can't just be about the physical aspect of sex and then expect your wife to be okay.
Be here to be turned on.
Yeah, you have to, and with a woman, you have to turn on her mind before you can turn on her body. You have to turn on her emotions before you turn on her body. So men, listen to me. Stop making it just about you. Stop making it just about what you need and your result. Make it a process. Make it an event. Make it an event that she understands that it's not just about the physical act that you're doing, that it's about the entire package.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my final thought.
Yeah.
So family.
Oh my goodness.
Family, you stuck with us.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Probably do part 1 and 2.
So family, we love you. We thank you guys so much for being along this journey. However you're listening, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Podbean, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Google Play, whether it's Amazon Music, whether it's iHeartRadio, on our own personal website at www.thecrenshawcorner.com.
I love you.
Family, you know we're an interactive podcast, which means we can be found on the socials. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, all on the Crenshaw Corner. And of course, you can email us at any time at thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com. Once again, thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com. And family, as always, welcome to our journey.
We love you guys. Bye.